Good afternoon, and welcome to The Road to Recovery, The Road to Freedom with Mark. This is my half-hourly show I do every Friday, and it is indeed Friday again. It's rolled around for me. Friday the 12th of June, and only 9 days to go, roughly, 9-10 days, to the winter solstice, and she's going to hit -10, -15 in the little hollows and valleys down the South Island tonight. So I guess we should all be very grateful for global warming, because if it wasn't for that, how much colder would it be than -15, I wonder? Yeah. Sarcasm's my best friend, isn't it? Well, I talk about mental health on my show right now, and never has it been more important and never has it been more relevant than now, this very moment, as we come out of lockdown and we come out of COVID-19, but the rest of the world does not. The plague is now starting to sweep South America and Africa. Now, I've been to Africa, lived there for a couple of years. I've seen slums like Soweto, walked through them, talked to the people, saw how they lived. We have absolutely no idea what true level of poverty there is. I've seen the slums of Southeast Asia. I've seen people living on rubbish tips. That's their lives. And millions and millions and millions of people in Africa need to work. If they don't work, they starve. They have no savings, they have no food, they have nothing in this world. Many people in India are the same, and often they are foreigners from other nearby countries, like Pakistanis who work in India, Indians who work in Pakistan. These people need to work or they're going to die, and they really don't give a damn about any virus. It's live or die, it's that simple for them. However, we do have quite an extreme level of poverty in New Zealand, and the gap is continuing to widen, to broaden, and the benevolence of the wealthy is diminishing quickly. Unlike the good old days of the 1920s and 30s, wealthy people made businesses. They made things, they gave people jobs. People like the Todd family, for example, many families like that. The Tallies, the Fletchers, the Goodmans, the Ingalls down in Moswaka, many of these families, or sometimes they were just individuals, sometimes they were families, sometimes it's generation upon generation, inherited the family business, ran it very well, with great pride, the skill, the level of workmanship was truly par excellence. I mean, there's others, Gallagher's Electric Fences, Tate Electronics. There are so many success stories. We have brilliant people in this country, amazing people who have this number 8 fencing wire mentality, who can do attitude. However, that has all changed. What has happened is the wealthy now hide their money away, bury it, in art and gold bullion and things that don't provide any job, any money, any taxes. And what's more, they leverage their assets, their properties, to buy more. So they are not affected by people losing their jobs or anything like it. They may be set back a little if the property market takes a dive, but, it really struck me when our friend Mr. Jones, the millionaire, lost his shirt in the 87 crash. He lost the majority of what he had, but he wasn't depressed. I remember a journalist walked up to him and said, "Mr. Jones, you've lost millions of dollars. What's it like?" And he laughed, and he looked up the camera and smiled and said, "Well, I'm still a millionaire." Now that man has bounced back like never before. Never was he so rich or will be again. Many, many people like that. The Myers family of Lion Breweries, Gareth Morgan and his son Sam. There have been a few go-getters of late, and it turns out that Mr. Morgan Sr. has decided to become a philanthropist and help impoverished people. Now, that man is a genius, right? Not only is he smart, he's successful, he's knowledgeable, he's an extremely good leader, but unfortunately he's very strong-willed, strong-minded, and doesn't always come across well, especially when he makes disparaging comments about people's pussycats. I don't like that sort of stuff from people like him. Doesn't matter the fact that he's right. He's absolutely 100% right. Felines really have no place in a country full of birds, you understand. They're just not compatible. However, let's get back to the subject of mental illness and depression. And I am getting to a very good point here, and it all ties together very shortly. I have been banging on about the same things. I warned you. I warned you about a pandemic coming. Nobody listened. I warned you about poverty and joblessness, and nobody listened. I've been doing this for years and years in the wilderness before this subject became popular. And I do have the answers, and I always have done. However, I can buy you a handkerchief and I can show you how it's done, but I cannot blow your nose for you. I am far, far too busy writing my stories and changing the world in what ways I can, and I cannot do this. And there is a simple solution, so let's bang it out here. Poverty leads to poor health and crime. That's where it goes, and it doesn't go anywhere else. It goes to depression, mental unwellness. The number of people I've met on benefits, be they invalid, sickness, unemployment, you are living below the poverty line, and it is tough. Now, I've heard people talk about dole bludgers, those that were lucky enough to have jobs. Well, a whole lot of those people are going to change their tunes now that they're on the benny for the first time in their lives, and believe you me, it is going to be one kick in the under region that they've never had before. The unwellness, they are saying that the burden on our society could be great. Could be double the number of people suffering from depression in another year or two, maybe. I mean, that's really just throwing a dart. But what we do know is it's not going to decrease in a hurry, that's for sure. Increase, yeah. How much? Don't know. But it's going to be bad. And we've got an already overburdened system and plenty of people who aren't very good at their jobs. So, how are we going to fix it? Well, there's a few things we need to do, and we need to change people's way of thinking. Now, it's no good to say, not my problem, I'm too small, I can't do anything. If you have a smartphone, you can change. You can change the policy of this country quite easily. On Facebook or whatever, it's all you've got to do. Start a movement. And the simple idea is this. Give the poor more money. Why? Because they'll spend it. They won't buy gold bullion. They might buy a packet of fags, which ain't too good. I mean, those damn things should be banned. But even if they're buying cigarettes, they're paying GST, they're paying an extra tax for the fags, they're paying extra tax for booze, for petrol, for gambling. There's taxes on all this stuff, on top of the GST. However, if they're using their noodle, which I hope they are, and they're going out and buying food for themselves and their kids, which is far more likely, they're providing jobs, they're paying tax, and those jobs are paying PAYE income, right? So you're keeping somebody in a job by spending money on food which you desperately need, clothes, whatever. Now, I know we don't manufacture a lot of clothes in this country, and I wish we did, but at least people in the shops are getting jobs serving you. The transport companies, the logistics, everybody. It's a money go-round. Poor people will spend that extra money, rich people will not. Where does it come from, this money? Are we just going to print money? Well, yes, that's one way of doing it, and that is definitely a good solution. Print more money, give it to the poor. Or you could ask the rich to pay a tax burden. Why? Well, it's because the fact that 5% of the country own 90% of the wealth. 90% of the country own less than those top 5%. So there is an extraordinarily uneven distribution of wealth in this country, where we have a few people who are exceedingly, extraordinarily rich. We're talking hundreds of millions of dollars that they could never spend in a lifetime. They don't need it all, and they wouldn't mind giving up a bit, and honestly, they wouldn't miss it. They have empires that they have built. Who knows? They could go on for centuries. But what we find is we're getting a divide in this country between people who have wealth, people who have property, and people who will rent their entire lives. And I feel very sorry for the young people these days who have to start from scratch. If you don't have a mummy and daddy who's got it together enough to get you the money to get into a house now, probably never will be achievable. And you look at the ratio of what people earn versus what their mortgage is, it has increased massively over the last 30, 40, 50 years. Not only that, their jobs are no longer secure. My dad, he basically would go to a job and he'd have a job for life as long as he did his job well and behaved himself, no problemo. Those jobs hardly exist anymore. And some people who have lost their jobs are going to be out of work for years. I couldn't believe that the airlines are asking people to wait for 3 or 4 years in the hope that they might get their old job back. That is a ridiculous thing. What needs to happen is a lot of people need to think about doing other types of jobs, and the government need to pull finger and say, hey, look, we've got all these wilding pines down south. Let's send a few thousand down there to pull them out. Give them an extra 100 or 2 a week. They're doing a job. They're helping the country. They're resolving a problem that otherwise would not be resolved, and just overrun the place because these things are out of control. There's pest control, there's track cutting. We can get so much done whilst we get through and the rest of the world catches up to us, because honestly they are going to be years behind. This disruption is not going to be for a year or two. It will go on for literally decades and will change our world, change our lives. The other thing that we've got to get people into, and this is our friends, get into gardening. I've been talking about food security for so long. A packet of carrots or radishes down at the warehouse costs $2. You stick them in a bit of soil, hopefully some decent soil, thin them out, bada bing, bada boom, you got fresh vegetables anytime you want. You don't have to go out in the shops, you just have to walk into your backyard. You grow something, your neighbour grows something, she grows radishes, you grow carrots, you swap, you get good at it, it grows, and you start a whole community food sharing where everyone is empowered. They learn new skills, people help each other. You go around for a cup of tea and you help each other out. You can have a pizza, right? A pizza at the supermarket costs $3. You swang it up with a bit of tasty cheese and some salami. And the power, $6 all up, right? $6. It will feed 4 people. It's a meal for 4. You'd be hard-pressed to eat a quarter of it. And that's all it takes. Go round to your friend's place with a pizza and a couple of tea bags and you're all set. You don't have to go to McDonald's and spend $15, $20 a head eating stuff that's not good for you anyway. I suppose takeaway pizza's not a hell of a lot better, but, you know, honestly, you don't need the KFC. You don't need all of these takeaway junk food. Eat healthy, get into gardening, share with your neighbours, secure your food, support each other and get into the community. Community radios, right, like this, run by Michael and Veronica. They're doing a wonderful job for the community, and I really believe that this is where the future lies. What we have learned, if we can take anything out of COVID, is to be kind, be thoughtful. We have gained that, so let's build on that momentum. I've been banging on forever about common courtesy, kindness, consideration, simply thinking, how would I like to be treated? Now, I had to ring up the insurance company to get something changed. State insurance. Now, state insurance have closed 22 out of their 21 branches, so nearly every single branch is now permanently closed. They said they closed them because people like doing things on the internet. Well, guess what? I don't, so I won't be a customer of yours anymore. Why don't I like it? A, it costs me money. B, it takes ages to do. C, it's very difficult. There's no prompts. You make a mistake, you've got to go back to the beginning again. D, you've got to scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll. You can't ask a question, you just got to look and twist and punch and tap and swipe and hope you get the information. D, the information isn't there. Now, the information isn't there, the branch is no longer open. What do? You call them on the 0800 number. 40 minutes to answer your call minimum. Who on earth is going to wait 40 minutes to talk to somebody? No one has that time. Do you even have enough battery life to hold on that long? Now, there are thousands of people. So, whoever the CEO of State Insurance is, you sir, you madam, listen to me. There are thousands of people just lost their jobs. And because of COVID-19, you're having trouble answering the phones. Well, here's a genius idea. How about hiring a few of those unemployed people to answer your effing phones so that you can answer a call inside 3 minutes? That's what they train you. 3 minutes is forever to hang on to. You ideally want to answer within 3 rings. 3 rings it should be picked up, not 40 minutes. That's not service. Is that the way you want to be treated? Because honestly, it drives me away. I'm doing your work for you on the web, on your website, and I'm paying for the privilege of doing your job, and then you bill me. You bill me for your services when I'm doing the work for you. And at the end of the day, when I do have a claim, I've got a policy excess, so even though it's not my fault, I'm still financially out of pocket, apart from the violation of being robbed or your house burning down. As if that wasn't bad enough. The policy excess is just another kick in the cartilage. Isn't that a nasty, nasty, nasty thing to do? Why do they do it? To get rid of the small claims. That's their argument. But the fact of the matter is that those policy excesses are so prohibitively expensive, especially for the rich. No, not for the rich. Why? Because the rich have insurance brokers, and those brokers will get them the best price possible, and they will drive the excesses down so they are virtually nothing. Now, I'm not making this up, because I used to work in insurance for years and years, and I wasn't just no shitty little claims clerk. I managed the place. I know exactly what went on. I know the schedules of these people. I know how much they own. Their flats around the world that their children stay in with their fabulous jewels which they unfortunately lose. And, someone has to pay for. And guess what? Up go the premiums for the little fella. Up go the policy excesses. It's the little one that always pays because they're the easiest to take. They're the most vulnerable. They have the least power. So what we have to do is empower our people, empower each other. And you need to get on to your MP and say, give poor people more money. Now, there are financial experts starting to say exactly what I've been saying for years now. Oh, we should give the poor more money. They'll spend it. They'll spend it on food. They'll spend it on things that will provide jobs. Oh, what a revelation. Well, guess what? I did economics as well, all the way up to university level. In fact, I've got UE twice in economics. I've known this stuff for years. I've been arguing about it for years. Friends of mine, we sit around and I bang on these ideas only to hear myself same idea 5 years later being touted by so-called experts as if it's some kind of revelation. And I must admit, I do tire sometimes. I despair when I hear my exact words being spoken by some expert and everyone going, oh, yes, that's a good idea. If only your ears weren't painted on. Well, it's all about community. That's what it's about, because at the end of the day, that's all we have. Now, I know that we build fences to keep others out, but what we need to realise is we need to lean on that fence, lean over and smile and say, hey neighbour, can I give you a hand? It's all it takes. And the goodwill it provides, the way it changes society, and I absolutely guarantee you this, you give people on the benefit more money, there will be better health for our poorer people. They will not suffer so much sickness. They will be able to afford more heating, make their homes drier. Okay? Also, when people are poor, they don't give up the booze or the drugs or anything else. They just find another way to get them, which means begging, prostitution, theft, or drugs. All of which are pretty much illegal. No longer prostitution, begging they're not so keen on, but honestly, you're supposed to pay tax when you're prostituting. They don't. I mean, we're not talking about normal prostitutes. We're talking about horrible, horrible, horrible stuff. People being driven to do things that really, mentally, destroy them. They end up mentally unwell because they're so damn poor. So, not only would people have better health and therefore save money on the health system by having fewer sick kids and fewer sick adults, not only would we have that, on top of that, there would be less crime because there would be fewer people doing illegal prostitution, fewer people stealing, fewer people doing drugs because they've got enough. Because really, most people don't want to commit crimes. Well, when I say they don't want to commit them, they're afraid of committing them because they don't want to get caught. It's really just a fear of getting caught. Most people are fairly unscrupulous deep down. However, we use that and say, well, here, look, you don't have to commit those crimes anymore. We're never going to give you enough money to fill your bathtub, but we will give you enough money so that you can get a bit of food. And people need educating on how to grow their own vegetables, plant fruit trees, but also what to buy and how to use it. Rice, pasta, how to make beautiful meals. And this should be taught to them for free. It should be places they can go to. People who actually come into their houses, help them out. Give them free pots and pans if they need it. Teach them how to cook and look after themselves and feed healthy, and tell them why they should feed their kids rice instead of fat, instead of burgers. Why they should eat vegetables. Get fruit into them if you can. Fruit is a luxury for poor people. A lot of poor people, I didn't eat fruit for years and years. You look at it and you think, look, I'll buy vegetables. I can't be buying peaches and nectarines. It's way out of my budget. You give them enough. You tell them why they should eat the fruit, what to buy, in season. Sometimes things are just cheap all the time, like bananas. Great for you. Don't need to eat heaps. They talk about this 5+ a day, mate. That is bullshit for people who are on benefits. It ain't no 5+ a day, mate. There's baked beans on budget bread if you're lucky. Maybe not even that if you're hanging out for a drink. That's the reality of this. All these goody two-shoe, nicely scrubbed, clean people in beautiful clothes telling you patronisingly how you should be living and the things you should be doing, and you just think, what planet do you come from? Don't you realise how poor I am? I can't afford medicine, mate. And you're telling me I should eat avocados and peaches. You're nuts. You truly are nuts. And unfortunately, a lot more people are going to be on the benefit. But, you'd be amazed how many apple trees are out there growing beautiful apples, and all they need is a bit of cleaning up. Get rid of the codlin moth a bit, learn how to prune them, spray them, clean them. And man, you wouldn't believe the food you could get off just a single fruit tree. And you can grow a lemon and your neighbour grow an apple and you all do swapsies, and that's how things go round. Those of us who can fish like me, I give the fish away. Otherwise, the people I know, they can't afford fish. Snapper is $37 a kilo. Monkfish, which is about the cheapest thing you can get these days, $25 a kilo. You never even see rigged for sale. Fish has gone off the menu for most Kiwis, and yet we are surrounded by ocean full, brimming full of fish. How do we get around this? Simple. The government says, okay, you need to make available a certain amount of fish at a certain price, and not just hoki, other stuff as well, at a guaranteed low price for the market. It only represents for sea lords 1%, 2%. It's all they have to make available. Give them a tax break to do it. Okay, so that's their incentive. You give the people the cheap food and we'll give you a tax break. And that way the people get fed the beautiful kai moana. Oh man, it's so good. You know, why on earth are we not allowed to eat our own food? Why does it all get sent overseas to wealthy people? Well, all those countries are being cut off. So Kiwis need to get back into our kai from our lands, from our people, working hard to provide us with all this beautiful, beautiful stuff that's available. Why on earth should people be living on budget bread and budget beans? Life could be, should be so much better. And you could do it. You could make it happen. All you need to do is put pressure on, and it is never more likely to happen than with a Labour government coming into its second term trying to please people and finding ways to do things cheaply. Jacinda Ardern and company will do it. I absolutely guarantee you National will never, ever, ever do such a thing. They have never been a friend of the poor, and they despise the poor. And that's not to say I'm a Labour fan. I didn't vote for them, and I didn't vote for National, okay? So I'm not a big fan of either of them. But I know if we're going to get this across the line and get people up to a livable wage, and that means giving people who are working a better break too, because they are now the working poor. They can't afford to live either. So we need to ensure that these people have got enough that they can have hope. And that's what it's all about. When you are this deep in, you have no hope. You are drowning. But if you can get your head just above water, boy, your mental attitude, your depression goes. What a difference when the pressure comes off and you can afford the power bill and you don't think about robbing your neighbour to get enough to pay that damn bill. What a difference it makes. Right, well, that's my 28-minute spiel. No story today because I needed to get all that out. It's food for thought. Please support everybody. Thanks to the sponsors, to Wairarapa TV, thank you very much. You lovely people up in the Hawke's Bay, so glad you come on board. All of my mates out in the Wairarapa, what a magnificent place this is to live. Love you all, love you heaps, support each other, be there for each other, make this shit happen. Thank you very much for tuning in. Please tune in next week. Cheers for now.